Quick disclaimer, this is not some well-researched video essay, it's barely a video in the first place. I just wanted to ramble. Also, spoilers for a whole bunch of games. It's no fun when the boss hides the fact that they cheat. When they read your inputs and can respond to them before the animation starts playing. When they use a basically undodgeable attack. When they refuse to fight you, because apparently the other side of the arena is so much more interesting and seriously FromSoft just let us use torrent here, please. We've been dealing with this nonsense for over a year. But speaking of FromSoft, health bars really don't mean anything these days, do they? This guy loses a bunch of health once you reduce him to half. This one transforms into a completely different boss. He gets a new health bar, she gets a new health bar, and also she can lifesteal on every single attack because screw shield users. But you know, the health bars are the place to look at. You come to understand them over the course of the game. They have rules, so when you beat up a boss to force them into the second stage, you know what to expect and where in the Halia's name are you going. Yes, let's talk about the reason this video exists. I love the Ganondorf boss fight in Tears of the Kingdom. It goes beyond established game mechanics just so it can show you time and time again that he's on a completely different level than anything else you faced so far. I can't speak to the mechanics of this fight since I don't have a Switch and it won't be a justifiable purchase for me anytime soon. Because of that, I've watched a playthrough instead. And when I saw this cutscene, I audibly gasped, which is a reaction that very few things ever warranted. It's not the only example of Ganondorf cheating in this way, but it is my favorite one by far. Perhaps it wouldn't surprise me this much if it was an indie game that played with the meta elements, but a proper fantasy game made by one of the largest companies on the market doing a borderline 4-wall break in the final boss fight, yeah, that's a different scenario. As an aspiring game designer and developer, I could gush about this single health bar a lot for a long time. It of course doesn't look right, because it's off-center, so that the reveal of it going beyond the limit is a surprise, and I think that's genius. It's unnatural, just like Ganondorf's strength in this game. And yes, since the OTK health bars are always the same length, no matter the boss's HP, making it longer is completely arbitrary. From the perspective of the mechanics, at least. But it is intimidating the first time you see it, that's for sure. But let's move on. Gloom can reduce your maximum health, but Ganondorf goes one step further. Oh, I'm sorry, you thought that breaking all your heart containers at the start of the game was just a cutscene thing? An arbitrary justification as to why you lose your progress in between games? Well, think again. And again, it hardly matters, since that is the very final fight of the game, so the only difference between a heart container being broken and outright destroyed is that you can't kill it with food in the middle of the fight. But it still breaks the rules the game established so far, and retains consistency between the gameplay and the story, the lack of which is a gripe I have with a number of games. And that is still not everything that Ganondorf is doing. How do you like the fact that you're rewarded for a well-timed dodge with an opportunity to deal a ton of damage with a flurry rush? Cool, isn't it? Satisfying to execute, and rewarding your skill. Now, how do you like it when you're suddenly not the only one who can use it, and it is used against you? Well, still quite good I'd expect, at least once the initial surprise wears off, since, as it turns out, when Ganondorf perfectly dodges your attack and counters, you can respond in kind, which in a way is another incarnation of Deadman's Volley, also known as the Ganondorf Tennis. And yes, let's talk about using players' abilities against them. Mirror fights, where the enemy has all your moves but acts like a regular enemy otherwise, aren't all that special. But an enemy that uses a mechanic that for the whole game was yours and yours alone... If you've heard of Supergiant games, it's probably because of Hades, but my favorite of their games has got to be Transistor. The core mechanic of this game is that its namesake, the Transistor, which is the giant sword you're carrying around, allows you to use an ability called Turn. With it, you can pause time, queue up a bunch of attacks, and execute them almost instantly. And sure, you can also attack normally, but unless you're going out of your way to play differently, you'll spend most of the fight using Turn, then running away from enemies until it recharges. And then you reach the final boss, and suddenly you're not the only one with a Transistor. You're not the only one who can use Turn, which you're made aware of immediately as he blatantly cheats, attacking you before you get a chance to act. And if we take this ability stealing to the extreme, how about something you don't even think of as a part of the gameplay? Like, I don't know, saving the game? You could probably make an entire video on this topic exclusively on Undertale and Deltarune, but I haven't played either, so I can't really speak on it. So, to put it shortly, in one of the endings, Flowey goes crazy, becomes stupidly powerful, and because this game has no respect for the fourth wall, the save system is used against you. And let's be honest, you probably knew about that one already. You probably also knew about the one example of input reading, which is done in a way that's clever rather than frustrating. Psychomantis from Metal Gear Solid, who doesn't hide the fact that he's reading your mind, and who can be tricked by switching the controller ports. But again, I don't have much to say about him because I'm not that familiar with the game. So how about I talk about Darkest Dungeon instead, where the final form of the final boss is the Heart of Darkness, a manifestation of a Lovecraftian entity, a cosmic horror that slumbers beneath the surface of the earth. Something this powerful, of course, has an attack that definitely counts as cheating. In this case, Come Unto Your Maker. It is an attack that instantly kills the target. It goes through damage block, it ignores evasion, and it completely bypasses the Death's Door mechanic, which normally gives your heroes chance to survive, even after dropping to 0 HP. If not handled correctly, that attack would be some frustrating nonsense. But the heart only uses it twice, at specific HP thresholds, so it can't just wipe your whole party, and if that party is capable of dealing enough damage, you may be able to kill the heart before it ever gets to use this move. But that's not the fun part. The fun part is that the heart's cheating goes beyond bypassing any method of survival. It also goes against the way the target is normally chosen. It doesn't kill over a random hero or the one it perceives to be the most powerful one. Instead, it makes you, the player, choose who is going to die. There are even custom shouts for each character when they are targeted by this attack. And I'm sure there are more examples, and there are games which mess with you in similar ways outside of boss fights too, but it feels so much more impactful when it's not just the game cheating, but a specific character. A specific character you can then beat up. And going back to TOTK to wrap this up, it definitely feels even more impactful in games which don't really break any rules until that one moment when they do.